pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Fitzer?
Here.
Mr. Frank?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
Mr. McHale? Mr. Nushai?
Here.
Mr. Pernick? Ms. Redmond?
Here.
Mr. Sanaki?
Here.
Mr. Watson?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum, therefore. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular minute meetings from our November 9th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the regular minutes of the November 9th meeting, 2021. Support.
Motion, support. Any changes, corrections? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Frank?
Yes.
Mr. Kucera?
Yes.
Mr. Nushai?
Yes.
Mr. Sanaki?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
And Mr. Fitzer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Carried. Agenda item number 5, public discussion, items not on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Is there anyone online from public wishing to speak? Anybody out there, Ken?
No one online at this point?
Okay, seeing none, I will therefore close public discussion. Agenda item number 6 is other business. Before we open that, though, I received, it was printed in the paper here in the Royal Oak Review, December 8th, that there were supposed to be 2 public notices. We scheduled, this was supposed to be public hearing night tonight on 2 different things, but apparently we missed the time on that.
Yeah, the notices were published too late to be valid for this meeting. Yeah, so we need to reset those hearings this evening, which is what's on the agenda.
Okay, we didn't surprise any public by doing that, so.
No, apparently not.
So we'll have to reschedule that tonight, probably?
Yeah, we should reset those tonight, yeah.
Okay. And then we'll move on to the clear zoning ordinance and the city center signs and reset the public hearing. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so that's what we're doing tonight on those, is resetting the public hearing. You've been provided with an updated version of the clear zoning ordinance where we went through and we fixed all of the section references and linked everything, and so it's a fully functioning document now. I also earlier today provided the cross-reference sheet that shows where all the old sections went in the new ordinance. Some of them got split up and scattered to different places. Others are just sort of a one-to-one. This was section 438 before, and now it's section 2.5 or whatever. So you all have that document for your review between now and the hearing, in addition to the ordinance itself.
The copy of the document I have is labeled Washington Township.
Washington Township.
Clear zoning ordinance with the cross-reference document is,
The cross-reference document is labeled Washington Township.
yeah, the above the,
Oh, there might be a little, there
I
might
don't
be
know if
something in
that's
there.
a typo or if the wrong one got sent
It's
to us,
probably an
but-
artifact from the template document. Sometimes somebody edits the template and leaves a name in there. Let me look at it.
Yeah, the first column does say Clausen, but the title is Washington Township.
Oh, yeah,
so-
you know, that's in the header, and you can't see the header when you're editing the Excel document. So that's what happened. So I will ask my person to edit the header, or just remove the header, because it doesn't really need to be there. Yeah, you cannot see the header when you're editing the document, so thank you for pointing that out. This header. But otherwise, you know, this document, it's kind of a one-to-one comparison of the original ordinance with the new ordinance. So you've got both documents, and The only thing that is not active in the clear zoning document is the interactive zoning map, which will happen after adoption because there's got to be there's a link that's got to get added to the document and the URL has to be set before we can get that active. So we wait until adoption for that. But that's the one thing that's not active. So otherwise, it's all there, and we're ready to reset that hearing.
And that contains over 300 and some pages of information, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty meaty document.
Yeah, and once we get this up and running, is this going to be easily acceptable or accessible for residents?
Yeah, it'll be right on the website. It's hosted right on the Clausen website. And then if you go to the MuniCode site, there will be a link to it from there as well when you click on the zoning link. So you'll be able to find it from either
So
direction.
they can punch in, find the index page, find what they're looking for, and it'll take them right to where they want to go.
Right, yeah. And we can keep a printed copy, at the desk over here as well, because it prints out in the exact same format that it is in the digital document. Nothing moves, you don't lose any of the formatting when you print it out. So that'll be fairly simple. And we'll also make sure that each of you gets an updated print version for your binder that you've got.
Right.
I know some people prefer the physical version and some people prefer the digital, so it's just a matter of what your preference is, but we'll make sure you have both options.
When council approves this, is there a clarifying paragraph that says that this was just a formatting change and that there's no intent in case something got missed and then somebody comes in and is able to do something that was never intended?
Yeah, I mean, the resolution is essentially for readoption of your zoning ordinance with the formatting changes. Yeah, exactly.
It's good to me. Any questions?
Hey, Joe.
I'm
I
looking
know
at
we
you like-
mentioned it last time. You said that there was going to be a search area on this document, or is that something, was that where you have to use Adobe PDF to do a Control F to look for certain items?
Yeah, that's the search function. Any PDF reader will have a search function, but Adobe has probably the best of them. And you can do either the standard search, where if you just want to look for a particular term, or you can do a more advanced search that allows you to use operators and things like that.
Well, I noticed, and maybe it was on my phone when I was playing with it earlier. When I hit zoning map on the index, it didn't take me to the actual map. And is that what you were saying earlier, that that's not live yet? Or like I was thinking when I would hit the zoning map, it would take me right to the zoning map, but it was not taking me right there. Was that user error or?
It kind of depends on what you're looking at. If you're in the table of contents and you hit section 3.2 zoning map, that takes you to the section that establishes that the map is a controlling document. But if you go to the original, the first table of contents, which is kind of the general table of contents, and you hit zoning map, that takes you straight to the map. Also, the icon with the little map pin at the bottom of the page also takes you straight to the map.
Oh, it does. Okay, I was going to ask for a faster way to toggle because
Yeah.
that's what I was doing. It was taking me to the explanation. I'm like, okay, how am I going to find that in the future? So, and to Ed Sinaki's question, I'm not sure if he was asking if there are mishaps with, correlating the language. What's written there stands, right? Because essentially, last time we spoke about if something is in that is our new adopted ordinance and it stands as the ordinance. There's no existence of the old ordinance once this goes into effect. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's the new document, so, I mean, yes, that's what's in effect. But the effect, of course, stretches back to its original adoption, or to the original adoption of any of the given provisions in the ordinance. But yeah, I mean, once you adopt this, that's what you've adopted. If something gets left out or something, you just have to add it back in if there was a mistake. That's just how a zoning ordinance works, I guess.
Yeah, but which is why you provided the cross-reference check,
Right,
right?
exactly, yeah.
So we could kind of play with that. Okay.
Yep.
We all happy with clear zoning?
So do we need to make a motion?
To set a public hearing for, would be January, hang on. January 11th.
So I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing meeting for January 11th, 2022 for the clearing zone ordinance in city center signs.
Support.
Motion, support. Roll call, please.
I didn't catch who supported that. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Mr. Shy.
Mr. Cusero?
Yes.
Mr. Nushai?
Yes.
Mr. Sinaki?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Frink?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and then the other thing that we have to set a hearing on is the signs, removing the city center signs from the zoning ordinance and placing them in the sign ordinance. Because that's got to happen concurrent with the two of them, so there's no gap.
It's just a relocation of where they're at.
Exactly, yep.
Right. Okay, it's another thing I don't think the public's going to be very concerned about. And that would fall under your motion, that would cover both public
I
hearings.
did cover both in that motion. Is that okay?
That's fine, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Okay, I missed it.
Shall we move on to B then, planning for 2022?
Sure. So this is just meant to be a kind of a quick, let's see, just a quick discussion. I'm not going to get too in the weeds on any of this, but I just wanted to talk about a few things that we have on tap for 2022, explain a little bit of the whys of some of them. So number one is that the master plan update is going to return to the Planning Commission after that comment period for neighboring communities and agencies is over. So I know Commissioner Frank hasn't actually been a part of that process, so that'll be kind of new for you, but everybody else has been working on it. So that will come back to you for kind of a final discussion and then ultimately a public hearing. So that's something that you can expect most likely at the second January meeting.
And this is the amendment to the master plan?
Yes, exactly. So that will be most likely the second January meeting that we'll be having a discussion of that. Another kind of big item is the capital improvement plan. The input surveys are out to the various departments of the city, so we're getting their feedback on what they need. And we are looking at having a meeting to discuss departmental input, most likely, this isn't 100% confirmed yet, but most likely on January 18th. That's the Tuesday between the two planning commission meetings. We would like to have one or possibly two planning commission representatives at that meeting. I know we discussed that before. There was some openness among various planning commissioners to attending that and being part of that process. So I did want to try to pin down who will be at that meeting tonight, if we can.
Is that like a formalized committee or board, or is that just like volunteers that want to?
It's essentially the planning commission is gonna appoint a liaison to the capital improvement planning committee. Yeah. So I know you were possibly amenable, Commissioner Fitzer, last time. I don't know if that's changed at all, but,
I'm interested in participating.
okay, all right. So I would say that the planning commission could have a motion and take a vote to add him and request his presence at that meeting. And he can be your liaison to the capital improvement planning process.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Sam Fitzer as our liaison for the CIP.
Support?
Motion, support. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nushai?
Yes.
Mr. Sinaki?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Fetzer?
Yes.
Mr. Frank?
Yes.
Mr. Cusero?
Yes.
Thank you, and we will get you looped into everything you need to be looped into.
All right, thank you.
All right. I guess a little bit more of the schedule that you can expect on the capital improvement plan. That committee will be looking at it most likely the 18th of January. The full planning commission will see the draft CIP at the first meeting in February, which is the 8th. So at that meeting, most likely you would be scheduling a public hearing for the first meeting in March, which is also the 8th. And then you would have one more meeting to look at it in between February 22nd if there was anything that needed to be tweaked with it. But that's the schedule that we're looking at. And if it has to stretch out by a meeting, that's fine too. So. Okay, so that's the CIP. Other things that you can expect in 2022. One is we've been taking we started this actually last year, but we put it aside because we had so much else going on. But the sign ordinance, we are taking a deep look at the sign ordinance, and we're going to be looking at some amendments to the sign ordinance. We have some sort of accumulated knowledge of what's working and what's not working at this point. So that is in progress. Other zoning ordinance amendments, I'd like to improve the amendment and rezoning language in the zoning ordinance. We have some language that really works well that we've worked on for some other communities, and I'd like to bring that here. Right now, your ordinance pretty much refers to amendments, and the word rezoning is really hard to find in your ordinance, but that's what people look for when they want to rezone some property. They look for the word rezoning, and if it's hard to find the word rezoning, they don't know necessarily to look for amendments.
So you're doing vocabulary changes on it.
Right, exactly. So, and also there's some process stuff, what should a person be submitting when they are requesting a rezoning? Our ordinance is really kind of like, submit something, that says you want to rezone this property. So, we can put some actual submission requirements in place so that we make sure that we're getting a baseline of information that's going to be helpful for the planning commission and the city council. So that's something that I'm working on. We will mop up the cannabis issue as well. Thankfully, we've got some real breathing room on that now. And of course, we'll be monitoring whether or not any other petitions are going around out there just to make sure that our schedule works. And then finally, I just wanted to note that we're working on improving and cleaning up some of our processes, particularly for site plan intake. I've put together a schedule of all the planning commission meetings for 2022. And then I kind of did a count backward to if there's a public hearing, we need to have the notice in by this date. And based on that, we established an initial submission deadline it's like 40-ish days prior to the meeting. And we've also established a 1-week window in which the city is going to be doing a sufficiency review and getting a letter back to the applicant. If you're missing something from the plan, here's what you're missing. please submit by to make this meeting or
They
this.
will come more prepared when they come to our.
Exactly.
Site plan.
And we're trying to keep that time frame tight. If they really want to make that date that they were going for, they've got kind of a week to turn it around. So if they're missing some minor things, they can turn it around in a week. If they're missing something huge or it's a completely inadequate plan, they're probably going to miss their meeting that they were aiming for. But that's fine, because obviously we want the right thing to be presented when they come before you. So we're just working on trying to clean up the beginning of the process so that problems are avoided downstream. And then on the back end of the process, we're thinking about how we can kind of tighten things up as well. One of the things that we're kicking around is, we frequently have pre-application meetings with people who come before you to kind of tell them, here's what's expected. But we're thinking about actually doing a post-PC meeting, like a Zoom call or something with every applicant who comes through to say, okay, the Planning Commission approved your plan last night or 2 nights ago. Here's what happens next. Here's what's expected of you now. Because we found that we have some people who, we remind them you need to submit for engineering review, and they're kind of like, oh, engineering review. Well, the Planning Commission put it in their motion of approval, but, I think a meeting a day or two after the Planning Commission meeting, just to say, okay, you got your approval, so here's what that means, and here's what you have to do next, will kind of smooth out the post-PC process
That's
as well.
a good plan. I've tried to tell applicants on their way out the door, did you fully understand what we just did tonight on the site plan? And that we gave you these 6 items to take care of, and can you do that? And a reminder wouldn't hurt, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Joe, what currently happens?
They-
They come in front of us, and then what happens after that?
They get a letter that instructs them what happens next. But I think sometimes, people either don't understand the letter and then don't ask for clarification, or don't read the letter, or the really experienced developers, they just know the score. They know what happens next. So I think that having a meeting and sending the letter together are going to provide better outcomes across the board, because it gives people a chance to ask the questions that they might have when they read the letter, but then something comes up and they don't reach out, or they don't reach out for 3 months, and then something has already happened that's causing problems. So we're just thinking about ways to, they're fairly simple, but they're I think pretty big improvements to the process, potentially anyway. So I just wanted you to know that we're working on that, and then we'll be updating our development guide to reflect those changes in process. We can put that schedule of deadlines for submission right in there. I made one for the ZBA too. So we'll have both of those schedules right in the development guide, and then when 2023 rolls around, we just change out that schedule.
What is the lead time that we need to publish before a public hearing?
It's 15 days prior to the hearing.
15 days.
Minimum 15 days. You could do 20 if you wanted to, or 18 or 17 or whatever, but as long it has to be a minimum of 15 days.
Okay. Any other questions? Was that considered your planner's report, or is that a separate item?
That's pretty much my planner's report, yeah, other than, happy holidays.
Staff report and training opportunities.
Well, you all received the monthly report, so hopefully that should answer any questions about ongoing commercial development.
Yeah. I do have a question, though. So the property that's potentially going to be across from the library, what's going on with that?
We're waiting for their engineering plans, the PUD. They've
Okay.
passed site plan, so
Good.
now
Yep,
we're
I
waiting
remember
for their
that.
engineering plans to come in.
Good, okay.
They actually, they contacted our engineer And we're expecting to have them, I think, this week, so.
Okay.
Very soon, so they'll be ready for spring.
Yeah, I received a report this morning, and 650 North Rochester Road is anticipated to be on the PC agenda for January 11th. That's the tire store, I believe, on Rochester Road. They're coming in for strictly a site plan, I
Yes.
assume. And hopefully, they weren't prepared last time they were here. Hopefully,
So
they'll
we are going to make sure they're prepared this time.
get them tweaked out. And the other question I had, I was seeing this where I live on Main Street, across from PNC Bank. Have you noticed the bank is
New
closing the
windows,
front of their building?
yeah. They have a building permit. New windows is what we were told.
That would not affect the site plan in any way?
Not if they're just putting in new windows.
I don't know exactly what keys a site plan. You can't paint your building, you can't do this, you can't do that. But, yeah, it looks like they're extending their lobby and glassing it in. So,
I did see they had it closed off, but I saw the building permit.
okay. Okay, I'm good with it.
Okay.
How's the Snowman coming?
You got one?
I
We have
got-
some. I have some right here in this building, and I can get them to you tonight. You have a few days to get them decorated and put out. So last year, the Adopt a Tree was very successful, but trees in the wind
Too windy.
and that wind tunnel along 14 Mile, we were picking them up all the time, and they look a little bit shabby when you start picking them up off the ground and setting them back up. Those ornaments just don't take to that real well. So Adopt a Snowman is they're 4-foot-high coroplast figures that are going to be zip-tied to re-rod and then step down into the ground. So we are looking for everybody to decorate one, however you want to do it. Paint it, glitter it, dress it, whatever you want to do. And we're going to put them all downtown. So hopefully we'll have 50 of them up. And the nice thing is they can stay up beyond Christmas because they're snowmen. So I'll get one for each of you and get your kids busy. I also want to remind you that on training, that we are members of the Michigan Association of Planning, and they do have planning opportunities, and the link is on that sheet. But there is one on sign regulations coming up in January that I just was looking at. So these have a fee to them, but we do have a budget for that. So if you want to register for something, let me know, and we can get you in some training.
Are
if
those
you're
in
interested.
person or are those Zoom meetings?
They're not in person. They're
Zoom.
virtual, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So let me know, and just keep that in mind when you're looking at things. So that was it.
Quick jump, did the, is it Nora Chicken?
Nuri,
Nuri,
they're
did
supposed
they
to have their
open?
grand opening today.
They did?
Yeah.
Good.
Someone said they're only selling chicken fingers today, that they're not really up to speed yet.
No, that's kind of why usually you have a soft opening a little bit longer,
Yeah.
but, everybody's anxious, and so.
The wife and I tried Lucky Duck last week, and I recommend it. It's
I did too.
Very good.
They
I
have-
was there the second day they were open, and it was fantastic.
They have
and it was
been packed.
busy. Yes,
Yeah,
extremely busy.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
We have a very supportive community of our restaurants, which is very nice. Nuri will also be applying for a redevelopment liquor license, so. Yep, so we are all set restaurant-wise. Well, could use a little more diversity. I think we need a good seafood restaurant, but. So that was it. Anything else?
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I don't see Rennes here, so I don't think we have any legal update.
You didn't provide one, so.
Anybody else have any comments? I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And Joan, I love those reports. They're really, really beneficial. So thank you for putting those together and getting those out to us.
Yes. And at that, I will entertain an adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting for the Planning Commission for December 14th, 2021.
Support.
Motion, support, roll call, please.
Mr. Sinaki?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Cusero,
Yes.
Mr. Nushai,
Yes.
and Mr. Sinaki.
Guess again.
Yes, again.
Just making sure you wanted to leave.
Thanks to Commissioner
Thank you.
Redmond for being on the thing in spite of circumstances. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes, indeed. Thank you all.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.